one of the things that I believe strongly in is having fun along the way. If you are not the bomb when you show up, if you're not bringing value, if you're not extending that time and getting an invitation to come back, you lose, because the next person comes in and they realize that that's the challenge and they're on it.
Wow.
And when I wake up every day, my motivation is that we are saving people's lives. I've sold a lot of products and done a lot of things and changed people, but saving people's lives, there's so much that gets done and said when you're in the room together, right?
Hi, Michelle, and welcome to our podcast here at New Well. We are excited to have you. Yeah, I obviously know so much about your career and everything that you've been doing, but for the purpose of our listeners, please walk us through where you're at, how you got here, and then we can just dive in.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I have been looking forward to this conversation for so long. Thank you for having me. Really excited to share a bit about my story and my journey and get into some of the conversation. So I'm Michelle Radney. I'm currently based in New Jersey in the US. I am formerly the Vice President of Sales at Bristol Myers Squibb for the Cell Therapy Division. I was at BMS for about a year. I've been in sales and marketing and strategy my whole career. I'll start from the beginning now that you know where I am and I'm here today, but I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. And to say I grew up with humble beginnings is probably a bit of an overstatement. And one of the things that I really worked and strived for was being independent. So being a woman of color, and not having to depend on anyone to make decisions for me. I wanted to love who I wanted to love. I wanted to be who I wanted to be, but I was poor. I was broke. I wanted to get out and make some money, but I knew the one thing that would help me to get there, and that was getting a college education. And so I'm from Arizona. I applied to one school, Arizona State. And in fact, my family didn't have money. One of my best friends, her parents paid my $35 college application to get into ASU. One school, one application. I got in. I worked my ass off. I graduated in 4 years. I have a degree in communication with a minor in marketing. And then I got my first job in the pharmaceutical industry. That was 28 years ago. And I have been humping ever since. So I got my first job right out of school at ASU. They had a really great career services, and go Devils. So I'm really proud of my alumni. But I got my first job with a major pharmaceutical company. They were hiring on campus. I went into sales. It was my first corporate job. It was my first real sales job. I moved from Arizona to California. I didn't know a soul, and talk about learning agility. I figured out how to win, how to be successful, how to find the people around you. So I was in that company for a few years, and then I moved to Southern California. So I've moved a lot as well to take more opportunities, because what I learned in one of my lessons of success is betting on myself. And sometimes that's taking risks. So sometimes you have to move. I went to Southern California and took on a new role, also in sales. And then I found myself in love and met this wonderful guy. And we were in Los Angeles. He moved to Texas. So I followed him. I went to Austin. We got married there, but I went to work for another pharmaceutical company in sales. So I'd worked with this company for about 14 years, and we moved all over, from Austin to Houston to Dallas. I grew my career. I became a leader of people for the first time. I became a director. I got experience in marketing. I got experience in operations, learning how to build strategies, but learning how to have successful teams and really understanding what culture does for teams. And so, yes, as a sales professional, you've got to win. You've got to put up the numbers, but really, how do you do that? And it's about the people that help you get there.
Sorry, go on. The whole people and the culture thing is just like so aligned.
Yes. And that's the thing where we have such great alignment in the things that we are doing and what we build. Anyway, I moved from Texas to New Jersey, and that was probably close to 15 years ago. And I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world, Fortune 100 companies. I've grown my career in so many ways. I've done a number of exciting things in the pharmaceutical and the med tech industry. I did a stint in medical devices. And so when I stand here today as someone who's taking a moment to pause and as we start the new year, think about what it is that I want to do next. I've got this portfolio of work that I've done and these successes that I've had in so many different arenas where it's up to me to decide where do I want to take all of this great lessons and learning and this journey and the story that I have and the teams that I've built along the way and what comes next. I'm super excited about what 2026 holds for me and for the company that I will find myself at or not in the work that I'm going to be doing. But one of the things that I believe strongly in is having fun along the way.
We were literally before I go into your entire career, which is blooming insane. We were at our we had our Q4 like kickoff, whatever you want to call it, wrap up, whatever before Christmas, and I was like fundamentally fun. This has to be fun because once you get everyone on the vehicle of like fun and everyone winning, everyone loves to win, and that attitude is infectious. Like when someone's winning in the competition and then everyone's having a good time and everyone's being equally as humble, like that is the winning formula. So it's so funny that you say that because I'm so aligned with everything you say, particularly the fun
Yes.
part.
And you help each other. And so when you have that type of a culture where it's not, I win just for me, I
Of
win for
course.
us and for our team because we all win together, particularly when you're in a really competitive landscape or environment, right? We have to win. We have to beat our competition, whatever that might be. And when you have people who understand that and want to be a part of a winning team and a winning culture, that's how you also get discretionary effort, right? When people go above and beyond, not because they have to, but because they want to.
Honestly, that makes so much sense. So, what I'd love to understand is because you obviously went into sales. I imagine you were an individual contributor and then you just loved it and you're working your way up and you were traveling the world and it's great. Then at some point, you had to have pivot into that leadership role, right? And when I was like a hyper successful individual contributor and then I had to make the jump to then leading, it was almost like I was thrown into this world where I'd never been educated on how to coach down, or it was almost just like, just because you're a good sales rep, now you're a frontline leader. And I found that jump harder than C-suite, director, everything, because
100%.
I had never been told. And you almost have to go from that like the selfish role to the most selfless role, like you just mentioned, in terms of not being selfish. And yeah, I would just love to hear about your experience in that, because when I reflect on my career, that was huge for me in terms of like that pivot from, okay, it's just my revenue, it's just my quota. And now it's like I actually have to learn how to
Now,
coach.
that's right. And it was one of the most challenging transitions
Interesting.
that I had. So I was a sales rep, again,
Yeah.
in the pharmaceutical industry. I was on a team of 8 people, and my manager got a promotion. And
Okay.
so I then became the leader of the team that I was on. And I've done this twice, and I've coached to this because you go from peer to manager overnight. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you've changed and you're different, but it's about how you manage those peers because we were all hanging out together, the sidebar conversations, oh, I don't feel like doing this today. We all have those good and those bad days, but all of a sudden, they're sending their reports to me. All of a sudden, I'm
Well,
having to check, like, how many calls did you make? How are you engaging in your sales calls? When someone gives you this objection, how are you handling it? And having to give that feedback. It was really difficult because it was like, well, you and I were just talking about this yesterday as my peer, and now you're writing this feedback in my field coaching report. But one of the hardest things when I became a manager, I realized that not everybody works like I do. Not
we're
everybody
all the
works
same
as
person, I
hard.
swear.
Not everybody works as hard. Not
Yeah.
everybody works as long. Not everybody has the same fire and the motivation that I have. And I think that's fine because if you have a team of 8 to 10 people, right, there are people who are at different points in their life. I had a wonderful opportunity to manage and lead and coach and develop people who are at different points in their career. early in career, people who were late in their career, people who've like, I've done all the jobs, I've done all the things. I'm not trying to get a promotion. I want to be the best at this one job. And so you have to, as a leader, learn flexibility and help meet
Yeah.
people where they are, because we all need to get from point A to point B. But what I learned is that we don't have to go that route the same way. You
Yeah.
might get to point B in a windy way. I might go up and then down, but we get there together. All
100%.
of us are winning. And that
100%.
was the one thing that I really was like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. They're all going to hate me because I'm driving. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think people should work like I work. And learning flexibility as a first line manager was a really, really tough lesson. I had a team that was gracious enough to give me the feedback that I
That's
was being
amazing.
crazy. I was a crazy person and I didn't realize it. I was
Feedback's a
driving.
gift.
Feedback is a gift, but people ask for feedback and people say these things a lot, but it's what you do with it that
Of
makes a
course.
difference. And so I took it. I it was hard to hear, but I did something about it. And that's how I learned to be agile as a leader and to meet people individually where they are and to take the feedback and make changes within myself.
100%.
And that's how I won.
Yeah. It's actually really interesting. I feel like everything that you're saying just like resonates so much. I literally remember I got promoted as well, but in an existing team's horrific number one. But
Yes.
what's even worse is when you actually came to the company later than them. So it's like you've almost like beaten them in the race where they were like almost onboarding you or being like your buddy. So that was really hard. But then I also found navigating literally what you just said, like I work this hard because I want to show up for myself and I have discipline over motivation and hard work outperforms talent, blah, 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 blah. Like I am all on that kind of vibe. But I can't put that on you if it's past your working hours. And that I found really challenging because I was just like, well, I can't really make a comment. But to me, I was just like, what do you mean you're not going to stay at your desk if you've not hit your number? Or what do you mean you're not going to make that one extra 80 calls because you know it's going to get you to a pipeline? Like to me that was my priority, and then
Yes.
I struggle to understand how that isn't other people's priority, but everyone lives in a different world and everyone has different priorities.
Well, how I figured I cracked that nut with certain people is it's about the internal motivation and how do you inspire people? Because
Interesting.
just what you said in that example is true for many people, but when you feel like you're inspired and you're
Yeah.
motivated because it's for a greater good, a greater cause, what the team, what the organization, if you really believe in the values of the mission of the organization, people can be inspired to go above. People can be inspired and feel quite motivated to win when it is for a greater good. But if people
100%.
feel like they're not seen, if their work is not valued, if they're not heard, they do the minimum, they check out, right? Not the poor performers, but the people who are just like, I'm just doing what you asked,
Yeah.
not more,
Not
just what
less.
you ask. And there is a way to get people on the same page with inspiration. And it's not easy for leaders to do because the inspiration is different for everybody on the team.
Literally. I found two things. This is a great conversation because I think people can take a lot from this. I found two things that really helped me. One was positioning the company as a vehicle to wherever they wanted to go, whether or not that was in the company or not, whether or not that was to retire their parents, or whether or not whatever it was, I would position the vehicle as this is your pathway to getting to the goal that you just told me. And then I'd also do like almost like we put people on performance plans. We do all of that stuff to people, right? I made them do that to me. Like I was like, I need you to tell me if you want to leave within like 2 to 3 months and put me on that. And then I can try and then that's how I retained all my top talent. But also I wanted them to give me feedback and understand the gaps. Because once I felt like I had them positioned like on the bus where they knew they were going, but also they could give harsh feedback that their manager was then actually acting on. And then on top of that, you could equally be like, look, I'm not happy here anymore. I'm giving it 2 to 3 months. And then you just got then everything was transparent, like radical transparency. And that's what pivoted for me. But honestly, it took me about 5 years to learn all of this.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and good for you because it's hard.
Horrible.
It is very hard to do. Most people don't want to do it. It's difficult. It's painful to hear the feedback, but when you are able to do it and when you get to the other side, you have enormous success and you have followership and people who are like, that's who I want to go into the battle with because I know they're looking out for me because I know when they do give me feedback, that is critical feedback. It's in earnest, right? It's to help me get better, not because they're trying to get rid of me or not because they don't want to see me succeed. It's because that's going to make me better.
100%. And it's crazy because, especially in our industry, you then start to, as you go on, have this like cult of people that you can kind of pull from other companies because they worked with you before and they're
Yeah.
inspired by you. And that's like the ultimate network of you going to a company. And if you have the ability to bring like 2 to 3 top performing reps that you know are just like a slam dunk, then you're laughing. That's when I know I've been successful. If I could reach out to people and be like, fancy coming to work with me again?
They're like, we've been waiting for you to call. What
Well,
took you so long? Yes.
I love it. Awesome. So, in terms of your leadership and specifically just flipping it back on what you've done in your career, has there been any moments that you can like remember where you've had to come in and the team's underperforming or the culture's just not there? And I know you spoke a lot about inspiring and like followership, but like, are there any things that you've done to kind of like reignite the flame? Because sometimes I feel like people get hired into underperforming teams and it's like, this is a lot of work to even get them back up to baseline.
Yeah. Well, I've had that happen a few times in my career. And, the recipe that I use, I think is pretty simple. One, people realize that you're here because you've got the credentials, you've had the success. People don't want to know all of the things that you've done to get here. Yes, you have to give some of that for credibility. But what I found is that getting to know the people and
Interesting.
understanding what their motivation is because there are reasons that teams are underperforming. And most often, the most senior leaders in the organization don't understand what the challenges are for
Yeah.
those first line leaders, for the first line sales. The people who are right in front of the customers, they don't understand all of the challenges, what the barriers are. And so when you stop long enough and ask the really sometimes very simple, not the hard questions, but you ask what's really going on and understand how you can support them. That's where it started to turn around for me and getting people aligned. I've gone into teams where everybody is like, listen, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need a manager. My last manager didn't come and ride with me. I don't need this feedback. I know how to do the job. You're not going to come and teach me how to sell anything. And then when I come in and I start talking about what they're doing, how they're doing, what their motivation is, building trust, getting to know them personally, having them get to know me personally, what inspires me, what about my family, do I love the most? What are those moments? That's when I see, okay, I can get this person to share what's helped them be successful. That's when I can get everybody on the same page because that's what I think often you come in and everybody's just used to working with their head down and doing their thing. And then when you can get them all on the same sheet of music, going at the same direction at the same pace, makes all the difference. And you see the performance, right? I have gone in and have built culture where you've got high performing individuals, but they're all over the place and they're all out for themselves. But when you build that culture,
Yeah. It's
it
like a
is
little
fresh.
sports team. It's like professional athletes. It's like you could have the most insane individual in any sport, insane individual. But if they're in a team sport and they're not working together in that cohesive environment, they're going to lose to some really average players but are working together. It's so bizarre.
And you have to anchor people on what's most important and what really matters. And I also find that people are like, just tell me what to do. Like, what are the most,
Yeah.
prominent things or what, it's not about like, what's the message, but here are the 3 things that we need to make sure that everybody is doing well. Not that you can't do some of these other things, but here are the 3 things that this team will anchor on. It's like our family. This is what's important in our family. And these are the rules for our family. And that's sometimes what I bring into these teams and where I get a lot of great feedback from people who have said, we just needed somebody to like bring it all together for us, someone who understood really what the job was, someone who really understood and can see where the challenges were. Sometimes it's with the individual contributors or the reps. Sometimes it's a leadership issue.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes you have managers who are checked out. Well,
Yeah.
that's an issue. And when you identify what it is, maybe the manager is not motivated. Maybe the manager has been trying to get promoted and hasn't been supported or sponsored or seen. It's always the people.
100%. It's really interesting that you say that about the manager, because that's just reminded me of a point where sometimes if a team's underperforming, the first thing I do, I audit the team, but I really want to understand, is it the reps or is it the leadership? Because you can have reps that are where they need to be in performing, but if they've not got the
100%.
right leadership or the right direction, all I need from a sales rep is to be like hungry, humble, like not even that talented, just like coachable and like ready to go. If I've got that, I can do it. But then sometimes the leadership are not. I go into it and I'm like, what's your coaching cadence? Like, where are your deal reviews? Where are your forecasting? Where are your literal call reviews, where you should be call reviewing them like at
Yes.
least 1 or 2 a week to give them feedback to get better? And if that's all absent, I literally say to big companies, I'm like, you don't have a IC talent issue, you have a leadership issue.
That's right. And that's something that I think gets missed.
Yeah, I
And it's the
agree.
most important role. That first line leader
The
is the
most
most
important role by
difficult
far.
role. It's the most important role because they're the ones who are trying to manage the team that they're leading, trying to manage the expectations of the directors, the vice presidents, the presidents of the business, and the art of doing both of those things well. And it's one of those things that we don't teach well enough. We don't coach to.
That's what I was that person. I was that person like, whoa, wait, I'm supposed to be doing all of this. I just thought like you just turned up and did one-to-ones with your
Yeah.
reps. I was like,
I just
wait,
thought
now
I
I need to
just showed up and I, had some advice and I went out and sold something. Nope, not that
since
easy.
it's insane. So obviously there's a huge underperformance within sales reps still, right? Like I built a sales excellence company. This is the second one we're actually building. And like it seems to be there's still just a massive underperformance and it's just almost like widely accepted. When you look at the teams that you've worked at, how much was like coaching the reps involved? Because the companies we work with and what I see is they are so intelligent at the product. Like I work with like a lot of like ex McKinsey, Bain, like IBM, all of them that are just like hugely intelligent, like consultants almost, but then are sales reps, but have never had like that sales execution, which is the best way to be, right? Because you can teach sales, but how intelligent they are is probably hard to teach. So when you've looked at your teams, have you had like almost like a coaching cadence? Have you been able to give them that go-to-market strategy, or has it been like very ad hoc? And what did that look like in your world when you were going through all these different roles?
It's been different in different roles in
Yeah.
different companies because some organizations have a real clear development strategy, right? We hire new reps. This is the training they go through. Some organizations have the same very clear strategy for managers. New managers get X, Y, Z. But then I've gone into roles where that didn't exist. And so that's where it's okay. But it takes a bit to figure out, like to get under it, because even companies that think they have a really good development strategy, it's not being executed. And so it's a really nice strategy that's sitting on the shelf over there. So it's like, okay, well, let's dust that off. Let's revisit how relevant is it still today. And what I find is that our customers aren't changing at the speed of light, but how they want to be engaged is changing. And so, what techniques are we using to engage customers, particularly now that we've got virtual engagements, we've got conferences that we go to engage customers, in person meetings. But when you show up, no longer are the days that the customers are like, oh, come on, Michelle, I'm going to give you 30 minutes. You
I
got
know.
5 minutes. And if
Oh, I
you don't
know.
bring it, if you are not the bomb when you show up, if you're not bringing value, if you're not extending that time and getting an invitation to come back, you lose because the next person comes in and they realize that that's the challenge and they're on it.
It's wild. It honestly, like the pivot, even over like the last 3 to 5 years, when we were building the first company, I used to book, my goodness, like between 5 to 10 meetings a week just by like LinkedIn voice notes. So just like direct selling over LinkedIn, voice notes, videos, etc. Now it's completely pivoted to like almost like a value first. Like I appreciate I can't even come close to selling to you right now. I'm going to give you
Yes.
some value in the format of something. It can be anything, right? And we see this all of the time in the market. And it's just crazy how time hasn't gone past that quickly, but the way that people are digesting content, the way that people want to buy, the way that people are exposed to it has rapidly.
Mhm. and making sure that the organization is able to evolve and
Yeah.
able to meet the customers where they are. And this is in my business where we've talked about omni-channel and multi ways of engaging a customer or information. It's still about the trust, right? Because if the company is saying, here's our marketing message, we've tested it out in A, B, and C, and here's how our customers have responded. And now as the sales rep, we're equipping you with all of this knowledge and information. You have to believe that and go in saying that here's the right message, here's the right time. So all of the data has told me, and then you deliver. But there are still people who don't believe that because they are like, I'm a hardcore salesperson. I've been doing this for 30 years, and here's how it
They're the
goes.
hardest.
They are
And
the
they're getting left
hardest.
behind. Whenever we work with a company and they start to tell me that they're well within their ways and they're just like,
Yes.
age has a lot to do with
Believe
it.
them. When they tell you that, believe them.
And I'm just like, oh no, they're going to think I'm some like young gun trying to change them, which I absolutely am. Like I worked for a huge finance company that was like public. And I just remembered the way they sold. And I was like, you guys could literally be 3x in your revenue if you just pivoted from this like old way of selling, this rigid, or just like these like taking them out to dinner, like all this kind of stuff, and just literally ran like a best in class sales execution with value attached to their business outcomes. I mean, it would be a game
100%.
changer.
Game changing, but they have to be open. And so that's
I
where I
know.
say it is a leadership issue in some cases.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So over your career, you've obviously you smashed it, right? You jumped into that. I love the fact that your friends' parents paid for that first like entrance, though, because that's just incredible. That's just such a good story. And you've had this incredible career. Obviously, now we're pausing. We're taking time to reflect, which we absolutely love. Do you have any idea on what area you would like to go in the future, or anything that you would like to add to? Do you think you'll go off on your own, or do you think you'll go back into a company? Like what makes work enjoyable for you that you're like, okay, I may not know about what job I want, but I know this is where I want to spend my time in terms of priorities.
I want to spend my time with good people, right? People who want to have a good time, want to have fun, but people who are kind, right? We can be competitive and we can win and we can whatever that deliverable and the KPIs, and be it a resource or a service or a product. I want to be in a role that I can help to build culture and help people when it comes to the light going off, all of the things that we've just had this conversation. But an organization that has values that are not just on the board when you walk in, but that are truly embedded in the way that you do business. I have been in healthcare my entire career,
I was going to
28
ask about
years in
that.
healthcare. And so when I think about why I do it and what matters, I've spent the last half of the year in cell therapy, which is an incredible technology and specialized therapy when it comes to patients that have rare forms of cancer.
Wow.
And when I wake up every day, my motivation is that we are saving people's
Oh,
lives.
it's
I've
insane.
sold a lot of products and done a lot of things and changed people, but saving people's lives.
Oh,
Now, I can
yeah.
take all of that. I've been in med device, I've been in operations. I was the chief of staff for head of one of the world's largest multinational pharmaceutical companies. But it's taking all of those things and coming up in an organization that will value my different perspectives. I want to work at a place where, and I think everybody does, a place where you come in and you're seen and you're brought in for the differences that you have, right? More of the same does not get you further. Being different, having different philosophies, having a place where you can pull up a seat at the table and your voice is welcomed at that table is where I want to be. And I want that for other people as well.
I know. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I'm so passionate about almost giving people the life that I've had, because it's just like this can like change your entire life, and just being humble and being kind. But just going back to something you mentioned there, I didn't realize that you were actually a chief of staff. I thought you were in sales like the entire time. So that's awesome. But how I'd love to hear as a chief of staff then, because I find this funny. How did you get the the mission, vision, value on the board into the organizations, like for people listening, right? Because I think that's the hardest thing. You'll say on a company kickoff, we're transparent, we're honest, we're trustworthy, we care about the customer first, we're customer centric. We've heard them all before. But What did you do to be able to get them implemented within the business? Because I honestly think that that's the ultimate competitive advantage. If people can actually believe what those things are and run with it within the organization.
Yeah, I think it's once you've established what that mission, that vision, what the
Yeah,
strategy is, right now is a perfect time. Our strategy for 2026 is X, Y, and Z. Getting the leaders on board. So it's never just, we're going to say it. We're going to say it at the company kickoff. We're going to say it at this, corporate meeting and go and do great things. Where we miss is that we think it's, I've said it and now everybody believes it and understands it and they're going to implement it. It is the repetition. It's saying it multiple times, but it's getting leaders involved. So it's, yes, the president of the organization has given this directive, but what are then the vice presidents? What are the senior directors? What are the managers? And it takes time. Sometimes, we don't have a lot of time. And so when we're
yeah,
in a virtual and a hybrid environment where we're in person and we're virtual, it takes time with the leadership to ensure that the mission is well understood, that the knowledge is transferred. We make a lot of assumptions, but just because you said it doesn't mean people actually really understand. Well, in the lowest level of the organization, what is it that I do every day? What is my contribution that's going to help this
so true.
multi-million dollar organization reach that goal? Breaking it down, making sure people understand, believe it, remember it, and can say it themselves
Yeah.
is when we know that we've got a strategy that's going to win. And we have to
So
stick to it. That's the
yeah,
other thing. I'm sorry. But we come
yeah.
out with a great strategy, and 6 months later, it's like, oh, we got to change. It's not working. But we have to give it time also.
100%. It's like move fast, yeah, but when it comes to things like culture and it comes to things like embedding something within the organization, that takes time.
Yeah, it does.
And then
Organizational patience is hard to come by.
I don't even have it myself. So I want to ask this, like, this is interesting to me. When you mention like hybrid, because virtual, right? Everyone's now selling online. And I actually think the COVID like booms of sales reps are probably going to struggle when they go to like enterprise, large, complex deals that are like in person on even how to navigate that because it's a whole different ball game. But when you talk about culture and because I know that's a passion for both of us. But when you talk about people, talent, culture, high performance, where do you lie within like, do you actually think that you still need to be in the office for that? Or do you think that you can create that virtually? Or what's your stance on that?
It has evolved over time, and I think it also varies depending upon the type of teams that you lead. So I've led a global team, a global marketing team at a medical device company. So yes, it was important. So having the technology to engage virtually was life saving, because when I'm in New York, New Jersey, and I'm talking to my partners in China, or I'm talking to partners who in Barcelona, right? That's important for us to be able to do that. But the in-person connections still have to happen. Now, maybe not as frequent as we used to, and from a cost perspective, but we miss out on so much. There's so much that gets done and said when you're in the room together, right? On the coffee break, when you're going from the office to dinner, sitting around the table at dinner. One of the things that I have a lot of passion around is, having meals with people, breaking bread together, the things that you learn about individuals, but about the business. There are things that people will say sitting around a dinner table with their colleagues that they may not say in the room, in the boardroom, with the big
100%.
fancy PowerPoint slides up. And those nuances are what really help culture sustain and help
100%.
organization and teams win, because it's how you get that energy together. So I am mixed. I think it's a yes, and we have to have engagements online and virtually because we want to be able to hear and see and more than just an email, but it doesn't replace the gold that happens, the magic that happens when you're in a room, when you're having a cup of coffee, when you're having dinner, and in my case, when you're having a glass of wine.
Yes, every day of the week.
It makes such a difference. And it's about building trust. And when you
100%.
build trust with
Talk
people,
wins.
you go farther together. And those are things that you do over the course of time and being together in a room.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel exactly the same in the sense that I have two parts. Part of me is like, I do value like sales reps being around like the table together and all kind of selling together. I think that gives a great energy. But then equally, when you work from home, if you've got the discipline, if you need to go to the gym at like 11 a.m. because it's a lot quieter and it just means you're going to perform better, go to the gym. If you want to work from X, Y, or Z, I really don't mind. I just need you with a nice background to show up and be able to be at your best where you're performing well. But I also think what we do, so we do that, we're remote, but we always do one kickoff a quarter in New York. So it's like we'll always see the team every 3 months, which I think is like a good enough time to still build that trust and everything that you're alluding to, but still giving people the time to be where they want to be and do what they want to do to execute at work. I think that's quite a nice balance. But it's interesting what you say about like the food and the eating, because I honestly feel like the biggest times I've been like built trust with my colleagues is when we've like gone to the gym together on like an offsite and we're all just like not even talking about work and we're just like between our sets and like just something really normal so that it's not, you're not around a PowerPoint where all you're thinking about is work and you should really be talking about work things because everyone's sat around and you've just had a PowerPoint. It's actually like, oh, I haven't thought about work because I've just been to sleep and I've got up and done an early gym session. And it's like, I don't know, I've just always felt that like the people that I've been in the gym with, I've always been closer to at work. It's so weird.
Yes. Because and that's the thing. It's outside of the boardroom.
Yeah,
I'm just
so
using it
true.
loosely. It's outside of the boardroom. You know, the thing about being virtual now that I find also brings people together where you find some commonalities is like, what show are you watching? Like, what are
Yeah,
you binging right now? Are you watching reality TV? Are you watching a cooking
you,
show? Are you
you
watching,
tell
you know,
so much.
trash? That's another really good way of building connections.
Oh,
And
I
when you've
love it.
got like I've got teenage daughters and oh my gosh, when you're talking about kids and teenagers and what teenagers are doing, a whole nother level of
Yeah, the mums can
engagement.
bond. The mums can 100% bond. I love it. That's so funny. Yeah, because like I'm obsessed with some real trash TV. And every time I
Yes.
ever speak to anyone in Utah, I'm like, oh my God, have you watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? And they're just like, okay, now I know who
They're
you
looking
are.
at you like,
They're like, okay, she's supposed to be like quite good at what she knows. And then in on the sideline, she's watching like The Secret.
yes, we all need our escape. There is something for everyone.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Honestly, so this has been awesome. I love it. But before we wrap, when you look back on your career, so to speak, because obviously we're taking this time to reflect, pause, etc. What are like the key lessons learned that you want to take into 2026? Like top few priorities that you can share with listeners that you've been like, this is a really key lesson that I definitely want to take with me into anything that I do, whether it's self-employed, whether it's a company, whatever that may look like, but just like the actual lessons in what you want to achieve.
Thank you for that question. There are a few things that come top of mind, and it is learning to give yourself, in my case, myself grace, but
Love
other
that.
people around us. And so I had an incredible 2025, but I also got to the end of this year and realized that it was not so easy and not, you know, a proud year for a lot of people around us, be it professionally or personally. And so giving someone grace and having kindness is one of those things. The other thing for me that I've learned is my own resilience. And
So
when it
good.
comes to being a leader, and many organizations are going through tremendous change right now, but you have to have resilience and you have to show up in a way that inspires other people around you. And being a strong leader doesn't mean that, you know, it's all good all the time, but having that resilience, being able to pause, build yourself back up, and finding the people who you can continue to build up so that the mission continues to go forward. And then the last thing for me is having fun. We
Yeah.
work so hard. We work out long hours, and if for, you know, whether you're in a US role or you're in a global role, I mean the stamina that it takes to show up day in and day out
Relentless.
is tremendous. And you'll wake up one day and you'll be like, where did the time go, right?
Awesome.
Having fun, being able to have fun while you're doing that. And there is all of these things around what we learn and our learning agility. And you're always going to have to show up being able to demonstrate that at an organization, or if you're running your own business, having discipline is really key in having success. But those are the things for me as I reflect on 2025 and as I think about what's to come in 2026, which I think it's going to be an incredible
I
year.
already know it is for you.
I'm super pumped. I'm super excited about it all. And I want to say it has been so much fun chatting with you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for reaching out and bringing a seat at your table. And this is what I want to also carry forward, right? We pull up a chair and give others a voice. And it's been really appreciated and a lot of fun. So thank you.
Honestly, Michelle, your career's been nothing short of inspirational from starting from where you started off and just even connecting with you on a personal level. I'm just like obsessed with. And now we're planning New York trips, and it's all
Yes,
just going to be
we
a
are.
great
It's
2026.
going to be a great 2026.
But truly, we
Absolutely.
can't wait to see where you go. Let's regroup in like 6 to 12 months on this podcast so we can do the whole reflection on what you actually went on to do. But I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And we're really excited. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Cheers.